What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so Gilbert Arenas is at it again. He's at it again. I don't know, man. I, it seems like for every good take that he has, he takes a step back and gives you 6 or 7 awful takes. So now, and it's not the first time he said this, because if I recall correctly, he said this last year about Nikola Jokic. Maybe I'm wrong, but I distinctly recall him saying this before. But he said it again. Recently, talking to Shannon Sharp, he said that in his opinion, Nikola Jokic is the worst MVP in the last 40 years. And he gave the reasoning behind that. Jokic didn't put up, quote, historic numbers.
I do understand when they say this about Jokic. Jokic is probably statistically, when it comes to overall game, the worst MVP winner. He's the worst MVP winner in the last 40 years. Why you say that? When you're talking about MVP, the guys outside of first and second place, their teams was first and second place. The people who won the MVP, their teams was first and second. When Jordan won it, his team record, they were 7th in the NBA. That year, he averaged 35, 6, 5, 3 steals. All-Star MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, scoring titles, steals leader. That was the MVP. Historic year. Makes sense, right? That makes sense. When Westbrook won it,
Okay. So I'm reading again. I do understand when they say this about Jokic. Jokic is probably, statistically, when it comes to the overall game, the worst MVP winner in the last 40 years. When Jokic, 2021, Jokic's team was 5th. He averaged 26, 8, and 10. What was the historic part of that? A big man almost won the triple-double, and they gave it to him when his team record was like that. When you talk about historic, Jokic 5th and 10th seed. Well, look. So a guy, people got to look at it deeper than what they are saying. So basically what he's saying is, from what I could gather, and I guess he's reiterating this time, is that Jokic was not deserving of the MVP that year. I think because they were the 6th seed, right? And that 6th-seeded leaders of teams shouldn't get MVPs unless they do something historic, like what Jordan did or what Russell Westbrook did. They're exceptions to the rule. And Jokic was not exceptional that year. But the thing I have to ask you is, number one, name how many centers in the NBA at that time that have averaged 26 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists a night. I mean, you now got Sabonis averaging almost 20, 14, and 8, but 26, 10, plus, and 8. Wasn't really done much. Also, more importantly, one of the reasons why they were the 6th seed is because of injuries. In particular, if I'm not mistaken, Jamal Murray didn't even play that year. Jamal Murray, who was so integral to their championship run, without him, there's no title run. They didn't have him. So that's part of the reason why Jokic got consideration. You know what I'm saying? Now, my only argument with Jokic was back then, the media has to keep the same energy for everybody. They was making exceptions for Jokic and LeBron that they wouldn't make for other players. Now, with that, I agree with Kendrick Perkins, right? But I'm still not understanding the relevance of this argument because Denver and Minnesota are tied for the best record in the Western Conference now. So the record thing doesn't make any sense. To now, okay, the Denver Nuggets are going to be either the best team in the West or they're going to be top 2 in the West, right? So the wins thing doesn't make any sense now. And Nikola Jokic, let's look at his numbers for this year. This year he's averaging 26.4 points, 12.3 rebounds, and 9 assists. So he's shooting 58% from the floor, 34% from downtown, 82% from the line. He's averaging more rebounds than he did last year, and he's averaging more points than he did last year, and the assists down a tad, but just about where they were last year. So he actually has almost more of a case to win it this year. Not to mention the fact that he's the reigning league MVP and a champion. Now, I think they should give it to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but it is what it is. To me, this is more of, I can't prove this, but this is more of that anti-Giannis, anti-Jokic rhetoric because the media don't want either one of those guys closing in on their king. That's how selfish that man is. That's how selfish he is. To actually push a media campaign, I don't care what anybody says. That's why I feel, at least. I think he and his entity are so self-centered, so narcissistic, that they'll push a media campaign to help prevent someone from getting close to any of his so-called numbers. Even though the 4 league MVPs he has are not even an NBA record. Kareem has it. Remember, if I remember correctly now, maybe I'm getting a little bit long on the tooth. And maybe Gilbert didn't say this. Maybe I'm mistaking Gilbert for somebody else. But I do know this. Maybe it wasn't Gilbert. But I definitely remember some of these dudes trying to make an argument that year when LeBron was like in the scoring hunt, even though they went 33 and 49, they were trying to make an exception for LeBron to be an MVP candidate year. And it was messed up because earlier that year, Denver had a sub 500 record. And they said, that eliminates Jokic. Now, Denver will go on to win a lot of games in a row or a lot of games in a certain stretch and get way back above 500. But at one point, Denver was like 11 and 16 to start that season. They said, that eliminates Jokic. Can't be 11 and 16 to be an MVP candidate. But they was trying to make an argument that LeBron James with 33 and 49 team, blaming it all on Russell Westbrook, blaming it all on him, and completely ignoring AD's contributions and trying to make LeBron the league MVP. I remember that before they got shamed out of it. That's how I see it. Oh, man, every video you do gotta go back to LeBron James. That's all you talk about is LeBron James. Well, it's funny how you only comment on videos I do about LeBron James. And when I am doing videos that have nothing to do with him, you still find ways to talk about LeBron James. So really, you're projecting. All you do is think about LeBron James. You guys don't go on ESPN and say all you do is talk about LeBron James because they kissing his butt. They saying what you want them to say. You don't mind people talking about LeBron James 24/7 if all they do is kiss his butt. But any critique at all, you know, you pop open your mouth and look up to see from off your knees, from the burn marks on your knees, to see who that is talking some sense while you were doing a service to the queen, figuratively at least.